Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Professor Hannah Faal. With your permission, I will start with a short introduction about you and about this format and the audience here. So Dr. Faal was instrumental in the launch of Vision 2020, the Right to Sight, which is a global initiative aimed at eliminating avoidable blindness. Her leadership in this initiative, alongside her role as the president of the International Agency for the Prevention of Blindness, the IAPB, helped create sustainable eye care systems globally, particularly in underserved regions. So thank you, Hannah, for joining us today. It's an honor to have you with us on our very first Coffee and Ophthalmology Roundtable. And when I say us, I mean Sheba Medical Center and Sheba Global Ophthalmology, which along those lines was created to advance equity in eye care across the world. I hope you have your cup of coffee with you, just to make sure. Cheers.
Yes.
Good. So my name is Didi Fabian. We've never met in person, but I heard, you can put the first slide, please. So I heard a lot about you from mutual colleagues from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. So here's one of them. We can see you, and kind of out of focus, we can see Professor Alan Foster, the former director of the International Center of Eye Health. Well, the focus is on you today, and it's an opportunity for everyone to learn about your tremendous career and your contribution to global ophthalmology. So with us here at Sheba Medical Center, we have ophthalmologists and from all subspecialties. And online, we have friends and colleagues from different countries who, by the way, are welcome to post questions through the Q&A box. So I'm happy to start. We have about 45 minutes. Okay, so I will start with a general question. What is, in your view, global ophthalmology, and why is it important? Is it at all important?
Well, thank you very much, first of all, Didi. I'm so happy to be invited by you and to share with you and your colleagues in Sheba and everyone else that's online. Thank you for having me. I've heard of the work of the center and wish to thank you and congratulate you on how much you've done in the very short time that you have been working at it. So please keep on working at it. Thank you. I'll pick the two words there. That's global and ophthalmology. And when we say global, to me, it's one world. The world has become smaller and smaller. It's all parts of the world, geographically, from the most affluent, and to me personally, the most deprived geographical areas. In parlance, we call it the last mile or the end of the road. And just to ensure that when we say that word global, it stretches across from the last mile to the most affluent. And even in the most affluent, you will find people at the last mile and still the most deprived. So that to me is what global means. The third part of that global is the adjectives, male, female, children, adults. It's got to be encompassing when we say global. Ophthalmology is a word I run away from now, but I think we have to bring it home to ourselves as ophthalmologists, so we keep that term. But I like the word eye health, because in my experience, if you want to reach globally, you've got to think of teams. You've got to think of the members of the team. And so I deprofessionalize what we do, but also accept that at the end of the day, the buck stops with us. We, as the ophthalmologists, have to accept that we have a leadership role in whatever happens, whether we're going to want to lead as members of the team. And because technology has moved so fast, who are the members of the team? That's going to change over time. And I think as ophthalmologists, We have to play a vital role in expanding the team members. So we have to think globally, relate globally, act locally, and constantly move between the two to make the world a better place for eye health.
Thank you for these words. Can you share with us a bit about your early days and early career, where you were born and raised and studied medicine?
Well, I was born in the last year of World War II, in December of 1945, in Calabar, which is in southern Nigeria, to an Irish missionary father and an Efik Nigerian mother, who was also a teacher. My youngest time, my first few years, were all spent in southern Nigeria. The only daughter, as my mother was a teacher traveling between schools, I moved around with her. So I know quite a bit about that last mile and end of the road population. From there, I had to go into boarding schools for O levels and A levels, again in Nigeria. So there's a kind of shaping of the person if you are trained you grew up in a boarding school. So I took that aspect into my life. The third part of my life in the early years is I went to the University of Ibadan to study medicine. And that was in the western part of Nigeria. So I'm familiar with southern Nigeria right across. And at that time, Nigeria was a bit detribalized, and we were all friends. And I've kept my friendship with my mates even up till now. The next part was my postgraduate period, where I went to the United Kingdom to do the fellowship training in ophthalmology. And then I did a 4-year stint back in Nigeria at the teaching hospital. But then in 1980, we relocated to the Gambia because my husband was a Gambian. All my training up to then had prepared me, as with most of us, to be a person ophthalmologist. But when I got to the Gambia, I was forced to being a population ophthalmologist because I was the only ophthalmologist to 800,000 people. And sitting in the clinic, I found patients coming too late with complications. And I said to myself, my training has not prepared me for this. I could work 24 hours a day, but I really wouldn't make a dent in this country. So I asked what I could do, and that was the pivotal change that moved me into public health. I went to the International Center for Eye Health to do the course in community eye health, and that was the pivotal bit. So I went into community eye health, I went into public health, I went into eye care programming. When I finished the course, I came back to the and grew up a national idea and set my targets that this population, within 10 years, we are going to reduce blindness. We are going to make sure that no one travels more than 5 kilometers to see somebody who knows about eye health, and no one travels more than 30 kilometers to have their cataract surgery done. So that in summary is my life up to that point. But I must say I was influenced a lot through WHO. I was influenced by IAPB, ICU, the International Center for Eye Health, and my working relationship with Professor Alan Foster started when I went for the course in 1985. And we've been working together, seeing eye to eye and working together since.
Okay,
Most in professional colleges, ICU, the work made me relate to all that were interested in eliminating blindness.
So thank you. We asked Hannah to send us a photo capturing a significant moment in her career. And this is the photo. So I want to ask you where and when this was taken and why is it significant to you?
This was taken in the Gambia. You can see I was extremely young, probably must have been the first few years of my life. This was taken in the Gambia, in the eye clinic in the Gambia. We had just that one slit lamp, which was manufactured in 1957. What we had on ground was very limited, but my determination and my mantra at the time was to make the most of what we have. So you can see the patient at the other end, he might have walked 2 days to get to us at that time. But the determination was that a slit lamp would be taken nearer to where he was, and that's what we achieved within 10 years.
Okay, and you created there the National Eye Care Program. So that was implemented only in the Gambia. Was it used in other countries as well?
Yeah, well, the Gambia program was like a laboratory. It tested out all the strategies that you needed to set up a national eye care program for about 1 million population. Later in my career, I was employed by the NGO Sight Savers, then the Royal Commonwealth Society for the Blind, to work in the Gambia, but to be their consultants to help them replicate what we were doing in the Gambia in all the countries where they serve. And that's about 33 countries across the world. So I worked in the Gambia, but I had to go to all these other countries where Sight Savers had programs and work with the indigenes, work with the countries, the ophthalmologists to replicate what we had done in the Gambia, and that's at the country level. I also took it back to the ICH to provide lectures to people who were coming on the course. So I taught the Gambia Eye Care Program to students on the course. I also shared what we're doing in the Gambia. I was a consultant to the prevention of blindness programs. I was in the committees, various committees, cataract, trachoma. So whatever we learned and did in the Gambia was shared with WHO prevention of blindness, and it affected a lot of the decisions that were made because the Gambia is a poor country, and if we could do it in the Gambia with the way we were doing things, it was possible to do it in other parts of the world where we had poor countries as well. So those are the three prongs, but I shared it with our professional colleges. I shared it with the ICU, AAO, wherever I could and was invited. We shared what we're doing in the Gambia, and it went into a lot of publications, the Community Eye Health Journal. It was disseminated widely, person to person, through publications and through policies and changes in the global bodies.
So the Gambia is a small country and with a small population of less than 3 million people. Could this program be implemented in a large, you're originally from Nigeria, currently in Lagos. Could it be implemented in a large, heavily populated country such as Nigeria?
Yes, the principle that we adopted was to have a model that you could implement to a district. So every country, however large it is made up of districts. So if you are able to take one district at a time, or an ophthalmologist takes a cluster of districts, if you get government backing behind you and maybe an NGO to support you, you could replicate what we did in the Gambia. So that's the way we looked at the African proverb that if you want to eat an elephant, you eat it piece by piece. So that's what the Gambia mantra was, that it was a district program that could be implemented a bit district by, as long as we achieve the population coverage that was required.
Okay, thank you. I'm moving forward. So you became the president of the IAPB from 1999. You were the president from 1999 to 2004. Can you tell us about this organization, its structure and mission? So Shiba Global Ophthalmology became a member about a year ago. What's our duties and rights?
Well, the International Agency for the Prevention of Blindness, I'd like to share a little bit of the history with you. It was founded by a blind person, Sir John Wilson. Initially in his career, because he was blind, he focused on blind people, establishing farms and so on. But he quite quickly realized that he could do a lot more if the blindness was prevented. So he founded the International Agency for the Prevention of Blindness. And he also helped WHO to found the Prevention of Blindness program in 1978. So the structure, it's like an umbrella body, an overarching alliance that brings together global eye health organizations. And I think at the moment, there are about 250 of them. And they could be in groups. I mean, you've got NGOs, you have professional bodies, you've got professional institutions, you have institutions such as yours, any group or anyone who signs up to preventing blindness. And I would say we're moving away from, not away, but expanding blindness to include visual impairment and include maintaining ocular health. So that's what, and to be a member, you could be in a group A or group B or group C, depending on how much you want to subscribe to the agency. It has a very strong central structure at the moment, but it's also got regional offices in Africa and the Southeast, and coordinators virtually in almost all parts of the world. I would say it's a very strong organization at the moment because it has moved into really advocacy to get eye health out of the silo of the profession or the health into development. And that's what it's really working at now. And it does campaigns, the World Sight Day. Now we have the United Nations Friends of Vision have taken on the mantra to fight. We've got vision for the Commonwealth. So the Commonwealth as a body has taken up eye health, and it connects knowledge. There's a whole network of people and mantras. It's gone into using current social media to spread the word. Love Your Eyes, World Sight Day once a year. And these campaigns are really very important to their work in advocacy. I would say the main things they do now is advocacy. They've got a learning aspect, the knowledge hub. They connect all these members to countries and various activities in the world. So it's a treasure store, and it's a major example of how partnership works. And I would really recommend my audience or anybody listening to visit their website because it's such a rich store. You can get a lot from and know a lot from what we do. And this, the World Sight Day this year was Love Your Eyes and focusing on children. Children, love your eyes. So it linked up to child eye health, it linked up to school eye health, it linked up to uncorrected refractive error. So IAPB really is, I would say it's the main driving force for getting eye health into the world.
Okay. So related to the IAPB, we've mentioned Vision 2020. Can you tell us about this initiative and its impact?
Vision 2020, the right to sight, was an initiative. I would like to start with the pre-Vision 2020 period, because that was where I think I had an impact. In 1986 to 1996 was when I did the 10-year Gambia program, and I was able to demonstrate that you could reduce the blindness prevalence rate by 40% over a 10-year period. So the evidence was there. Many countries did eye care programs, but none had been able to provide the evidence that if you did a national eye care program, you could actually reduce the prevalence. It was also a period when ivermectin had been proven to tackle onchocerciasis, and the World Bank had taken on the responsibility to provide it. So one cause of blindness had been tackled with partnership to a major financial body such as the World Bank. Trachoma had also been shown to be reduced by azithromycin as a drug. And so we hoped that we could also replicate what the experience with ivermectin. So we thought that I was active with the Gambia program at the time, and so we thought that with the partnership that all the NGOs at that time had with the WHO program, why don't we come together and put a global program in place using the model that we had developed in the Gambia to sell it. So a program was designed that more or less replicated that model. It had 3 pillars: service delivery, human resource development, infrastructure, and technology. It had a package of a district program. Professor Alan Foster was really the brain behind putting all of that together. And then a program was mapped out where we could spread that across the world in regions through workshops. So Vision 2020 workshops were held throughout the world, sending this message out. The NGOs would sponsor the replication of the messages. So the impact at the end of the day was that what happened in Gambia can be done globally. A design could be used, and the trend could be reversed. But then you remember the 2000, the end of the century, there was a lot of activity at that time. So Vision 2020, the right to sight, fitted directly into that, and it continued into implementing and using what was happening in the Millennium Development Goals and later the Sustainable Development Goals to fit what we were doing in Vision 2020, the right to sight. So my period as president, as you can imagine, was only 1999 to 2004. And to me, I felt that my role had been putting the building blocks in place and forming a team. I can confess today that I could not have done anything without a very strong team. Professor Alan Foster was my senior vice president, and Dr. Nagrao was the secretary general. And those 2 gentlemen really are the ones who did the work for Vision 2020, the right to sight. I was just there to remind them that it's really about the end of the road and the last mile and so on.
It's Rao from Hyderabad, from LV Prasad?
Yes, from LV Prasad, yes. Yeah. He was the general, and the office of IAPB at that time was located in LVP. So a lot of the work was done by those 2 at their various centers and in their institutions. And the partnerships that we had with all the NGOs and as I said, the commercial bodies had started coming on board, and the colleges. It was really a very good partnership, I would say. All the meetings that we had and adapted to changing things all the time. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think we were able to reverse the climbing graph we had reversed the climbing graph for blindness, but then the visual impairments had increased because of the aging population and the new challenges, diabetic retinopathy, other diseases came on board.
Okay, so I don't know if you know, but next. Yeah, so this got Hannah to be listed on the 2014 Ophthalmologist Power List. I think it was the first year it was published, if I'm not mistaken. And my question is, so how did it feel to be recognized as one of the most influential ophthalmologists across the world but wait for this, especially considering the lack of female representation on this list. So I looked at the original list from 2014. There were 8 women out of 100 ophthalmologists. So that's back in 2014. Currently this year, 10 years after, 2024, 32 women out of 100. And in this regard, what is your take on the role of women in ophthalmology and how it evolved over the years?
To be honest, I didn't actually pick up this publication, this power list. Somebody else found it and showed it to me. And I was really quite surprised that I made the list. But you can see Alan Foster is there as well. So I was a bit comforted that he was there too. To be honest, being a female has not really always registered with me in the work that I do. It registers with me when I go to the end of the road, you know, to the last mile, because there the women really predominate in blindness and lack of care. But in the power, and the second thing was that in Nigeria, when I was training, ophthalmology was very much a female specialty. The men used to call it embroidery at that time. So the fact that females were neglected didn't occur to me. But, you know, as I started relating internationally, I noticed the difference. But today that has changed a lot. It has changed a lot, particularly in the area of advocacy. I can name that in the area of advocacy. We can say, for example, Her Royal Highness, the Countess of Wessex, has been very active in prevention of blindness. The ambassador of Bangladesh, when the Vision for Everyone launched by UN, was very active in that. At the head of WHO program, we have Alakos, who is also a female. The IAPB president currently, Carol Casey, is a woman. The editor of that Lancet Commission, so he was female, and even the ambassador to the UN from Ireland at the time. So in the advocacy role, women have been extremely strong at the global level. And in Africa, in the leadership role, I can name Professor Chiku Mathenger and Professor Fatima Kiari and Nyawira, all very, very active in eye health. So it has changed a lot since then, and particular as the areas that I know in Nigeria and in Africa. And I notice across the world in the professional societies, and so women are changing, the rules have changed a lot for women to be leaders in that group. But having achieved all that at the top of the slope, I would say that the struggle and the fight is still to ensure that women are not neglected at the end of the road. I mean, the data so far still shows that women predominantly suffer from blindness, low vision, and the inequities in eye health. So I think that's where the work is.
Thank you. So a very positive change. Hannah is also a leading researcher, published numerous publications, currently is the chair of the African Vision Research Institute. Can we have the next slide? So according to the Lancet Global Health Commission on Global Eye Health, over 500 million people across the world suffer from distance vision impairment. Of these, about 50 million are legally blind, and another 500 million, so 500 million people, had uncorrected near vision impairment simply because they don't have reading spectacles. So you were the lead author on the Lancet Global Commission. Can you tell us about it and its impact?
The Lancet Global Health Commission, correction, I was the last author. I was not the lead author, I was the last author.
The senior author.
Okay. Professor Matthew Burton of the current director of the International Center for Eye Health was the lead author. And really, he was the team leader. He brought it all together and made it happen. But on the other side of it, the Lancet, led by Zoe Gray, shared with us why she did that. She said that at that time, eye health had really gone into, the information had come out about things that needed to be done for eye health. And for her, what triggered it was that we needed evidence. There was an urgency to respond to the growing numbers of the blind, and that now it was no more an eye health issue, it was a development issue. And that is what the Lancet responds to. So she then linked up with Matthew to form a multidisciplinary group to write up what I would call a scientific feast. And you can see that about 73 authors from 25 countries and lots of other sub-papers published. So it was transformational in what we had to do. And if we look at the sections and I would really recommend people to go to the websites and study what has been written there. There's so much, I cannot summarize it all in the word. What it does is that it broke up what we had to do into sections. And if you go into that, you would find that it covers a lot of work. It covers it. What came out for me was the refocusing of eye health. The definition, which a lot of us talk about, is blindness and low vision, but it moved that definition to maximizing vision. It became a very person-centered definition. It talked about the maximization of the vision of the person, at whatever level we found that person. It talked about the ocular health of the person and the recognition that vision needed to be provided throughout the lifetime of a person. So services, and that if the person now lost the vision, whatever was left, we had to give it a functional ability. So the concept of vision, the Lancet Commission redefined it. It positioned what we're doing in development. So it went into health, eyes into health, and health into development. And the lifetime approach, it put it into universal health coverage, and quality became is a very important aspect. The quality of the service we offer, not just that, but the quality of the life of the person that we are managing. Another highlight of that publication is that it delved and touched the economics. At this time, economics is a very important aspect, and eye health was directly linked to the economics. How does what we do in eye health affect the economy of a people, affect the economy of a country, affect the economy of a person? So it dealt with that. And to me, the most important aspect I find is that finance, money, cost as a barrier to achieving what we want was highlighted in the commission. And it takes me to the point of, personally, commerce and eye health. How does commerce and profit making have an impact on health? And how can we bring them as co-partners in achieving eye health or good vision for people, and for them to be convinced that it is in their interest for the things they provide to be affordable and reachable by all. And that, to me, we've taken eye health into development. I think we need to take eye health into commerce and make them co-partners with us. It dealt with the technology of eye health. There's a whole chapter on that, and the usual aspect of HR. But the big thing about the Lancet was that it was evidence-based. It brought out the evidence the world map.
Carl Benigil. Yeah.
Data and evidence able to prove, and I think you did it through the what.
Seems that the reception. Can you hear me?
Yes, the internet is a bit
yeah, we
off
can
at
hear
the
you
moment.
and see you now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're approaching the end of the interview. We have a young generation here of ophthalmologists here and online. What would be your message to them?
Yes, I have a few messages to them. And number one is that I'm so
Listen
jealous
carefully.
of them. I'm so jealous of them. They're young and full of knowledge and ideas and thinking outside the box. And so my first one would be think globally, and think into the future, but act locally. Have your niche, and then constantly move between what is happening globally and what is happening locally and apply to both. So vibrate between both, learn from both. I mean, it's just all over the place. It can be used for everything. Harness it, know about it, and harness it in training, in service, and in research. Number three, eye health and development are partners now. They're completely niched into each other. And WHO has worked hard to highlight the importance of social participation, the rights of the patient, the rights of the population. And we have now accepted that they are co-partners in health. And I always say to people, the provider, the first provider for care is the patient himself and his family. And we need to recognize and put a lot of importance into that and make use of it. And as I said before, commerce, business, and money have to be also brought in as co-partners in health. So to do that, you've got to be leaders. To have young ophthalmologists, you need to take on a leadership role and learn how to be a leader, a manager, be a 7-star ophthalmologist, if there's such a thing, and deprofessionalize what you do. Everybody in the team is important, both medical, non-medical. They all contribute. So that is what I would say to a young, if they were just starting.
Thank you. Do we have a question? Questions from the audience? Jonathan Kfir, so a resident from our department. Can we? Just 1 second.
Hi, so first, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here. Professor Faal, your work with Vision 2020 in the WHO has significantly impacted the global eye health policy. From your perspective, what are the most crucial unmet needs that should be prioritized in this field? And what advice would you offer to young researchers that would like to contribute in this field?
Well, to a young researcher, what I would want you to contribute is, and with the people with whom you work, raise the research questions. It shouldn't come from you. It should come from the people with whom you work, the people with whom you serve. What are the research questions that would impact the life of the people you serve? And when you've done that, then you can design the research and carry it out. And it could be in anything. It could be in commerce, it could be in economics, it could be in disease distribution, it could be in the complications of the disease. So all of that, as long as you know where it is taking you to, and that would be the improvement of the life of the people whom you serve. Have I answered your question?
Thank you.
Okay, we have one online question. So this comes from Dr. Matan Aghazi. He's one of our residents. Currently, he's doing a master's degree at the London School. So he sent me the following question. Based on your extensive experience, what do you see as the most effective strategies for fostering sustainable research capacity and enabling local leaders to influence and shape global eye health priorities?
I think a very important thing that is happening now is happening at ICH, in that in their training of
ICA is the International Center of Eye Health
Center for Eye
in
Health,
London. Yeah.
and he's on that course at the moment.
Yeah.
And it is training people in research and the conduct of research, particularly if you go on to do the PhD. And the PhD is not about publications. It's about what difference will it make to the lives of the people to translate what you have done and learned from the research into service delivery. And what ICH is doing is training people and creating nodal points so that when the PhD candidates finish, they can go back to their various countries and set up points at which to conduct research and train people locally and set up the research systems in those places. So that is what I would, it's like you have the hub. The hub is the ICH, and its PhD students are now the spokes to various parts of the world, and they would recreate or train people. And then that's how the research culture will spread. And it will also help with the global South, global North inclusivity aspect, that there's this constant conversation and traffic between the global North and the global South as equal partners, and respond to the issues and the questions. And it also helps that when you're in your country, you're able to mobilize the governments of those countries to commit to research, because a number of them don't see the benefit and don't invest in research.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Unless you have any more comments or things you want to say. So thank you for everything you did. And thank you for joining us today. And we'll keep in touch.
Thank you very much for having me. And I wish all your students the very best of luck. And I hope, number one, they know their last mile, end of the road populations, wherever they are, target them and serve them. Thank you.